Hello and welcome to a new episode on Sadhana World Foundation. As you know, we care about crafting young lives. We present them stories drawn from our lessons in history and our folk tales, which are anchored on moral values. We think that these lessons help our young children and young adults grow stronger and better human beings. Today's episode is focused on something that all of us engage in it on a almost like a daily basis. How we come across people who really don't care about the future, they always live in the present. We have, of course, heard of many such advices that we need to live in the present. We don't have to worry about the future because we don't know what the future holds for us. But how many of us really put this in practice? Just to remind ourselves about it, let's listen to this story. This is from the Buddhist time. It's a folk tale, possibly. So, once upon a time, there was a man who had a thriving business, but he was always busy. He was trying to make more and more amount of money. So this person used to run a business and one day thought that he should figure out how much of money he has for the future. He called his accountant and said that take stock of the situation and you know how much I spend every day and do some calculation and tell me how many generations of my family can survive with the money that I have. Assuming that I don't earn any more income, tell me how many generations would survive based on the saving that I have today. The accountant took a few days and came back and told that you have enough money for 2 generations, your current life and the next generation. But the businessman is thinking of having enough for 7 generations. He is very sad. He starts calculating, he works with the accountant that how much more money that he could possibly save in his life so that he can protect the 7 generations, not only his own, the next 6 generations. He was extremely worried about it. He figured out that howsoever hard he works, he cannot keep enough money. Maybe he has to start something new. He started thinking that what else he can do, but he was not getting any idea. So with that stress of thinking every day of alternatives and worrying about the future, he started falling sick very frequently. So one day a friend of his had visited his home and he saw him looking pale, looking sick. So friends started talking and this gentleman advised him to go and visit a monk who used to live at the outskirts of that village. This businessman goes to the monk and listens to his advices, the stories that he has been describing to all the people who are visiting him. So he decided that he needs a private audience. So he took some food and he went to the monk alone the next day, pretty early in the morning. He thought that he is the first to visit the monk and he will get a private audience. So the monk met him and with lot of grace and lot of affection received this gentleman. He offered the food that he was carrying for the monk. The monk called his disciples and said that this gentleman has brought some food, please receive this food. The disciples told the monk that Guruji, we have already received the food for the day. The monk told the businessman that sorry, I cannot accept this food because we take food for the disciples and myself just once a day, and we receive as much as we require just for the day. We don't receive food for the future. We don't keep them with us. So this businessman was stunned. He said that I have brought so much of food which will not only take care of today but will take care of a few more days. So much of rice, so much of grains that I have brought for you. But the monk says, sorry, that's the principle with which we live our life. We live in the present, we don't think of the future. We don't have enough storage places to keep this food and food grains for the future. Whatever we require, we have received today morning, and that's good enough for us. So this gentleman started asking the monk, are you not really worried about the future? How do you know that tomorrow you'll get food and day after you'll get food? The monk said that, see, we are monks, we are leading a very different kind of life. For us, we are happy living in the present. We are not worried about the future. Even I do not know that all of us and this whole world will be there tomorrow or not. And I think that tomorrow I will get. If we don't get, we will think tomorrow about that day. Why think about it today? I can do so many things today about my life rather than worrying about the future. So this gentleman got his answer, that he is only worried about the future. Rather, he could have thought, he could have planned for the future. There's nothing wrong in planning for the future. But the issue is that if we are overtly thinking about the future, I write an exam, I think about what results will I get. I'm doing a business, I'm thinking what will be the profits after the year, after 2 years, after 5 years. If I'm worrying about it, I start taking stress and I'm not finding solution. If I'm planning for the future, that's very different from worrying about the future. There's nothing wrong in planning for the future. In fact, we must, irrespective of our profession. In this small example, in this folk tale, the monk and the disciples knew that they have enough patrons around who will definitely give them some food, or possibly they thought that they can starve for a day or two even if they get nothing. That kind of a life is completely acceptable to the monk and the disciples. It may not be acceptable to people who are leading households or who are leading businesses or who are leading a team, or a student who is preparing to excel, or a sportsman who is preparing to excel in the future tournament. We need to all plan for our future, but we must not worry about the future. Worry leads us nowhere. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to this intense teaching embedded in this small story. I hope you found this interesting, and do spread this amongst all the young children and young adults around you. Thank you very much.